On my son's wedding day, my in-laws humiliated me in front of 300 guests, shouting, "You're not a father, you're trash." The bride laughed, mocking my modest appearance. They didn't know that I was paying for this wedding, so I canceled it immediately. Then someone in the crowd pointed at me and shouted, "He's a billionaire!" Betrayal turned into revenge, but this is only the beginning of justice that will turn everything upside down. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The converted schoolhouse smelled like lilies and money. McMenamin's Kennedy School had that historic Portland charm. Exposed brick, polished hardwood, the kind of place that charged extra for atmosphere. I stood near the display table where someone had arranged photos of Tobias through the years. Baby pictures, high school graduation, that one of us fishing when he was 12, both grinning at the camera like idiots. "Mr. Bennett?" Jessica, the event coordinator, appeared at my elbow with a tablet. "Just need your signature on the final walkthrough checklist." I signed. She smiled and disappeared back toward her office. "Orville!" Horatio's voice boomed across the venue before I could pick up my coffee. "There you are. We were just telling the florist about the budget constraints. You know how it is with limited resources." My hands tightened around the cup. Coffee sloshed but didn't spill. I forced a smile and turned. Horatio Coleman filled the doorway like he owned it. Tailored suit, gold watch catching the light, that practiced expression of concern that never reached his eyes. Beulah tittered beside him. "Horatio, be nice. I'm sure Orville is doing his best. That suit is very vintage. It's from last year. Ross Dress for Less had a good sale last year, didn't they?" Rosalind appeared beside her mother, phone in one hand, designer purse in the other. She smirked. The purse probably cost more than my car. She kept adjusting it on the table like it might get contaminated by proximity to my coffee cup. I set down my coffee carefully. "The venue looks great. Well, thank goodness for people who understand quality." Horatio checked his watch. At least I assumed it was a Rolex. It was so shiny it could have been from a cereal box, and sighed dramatically. "So much to coordinate, so little help from certain quarters." Tobias trailed in behind them, eyes on his phone. My son, 35 years old, couldn't look at me. "Your son's lucky Rosalind's family could step up." Horatio clapped Tobias on the shoulder. "Make this wedding actually memorable." Tobias laughed. Not a real laugh. That nervous sound he made when he was uncomfortable but too weak to speak up. "Yeah, I mean, without you guys." "Without us what? Ross Dress for Less reception?" Beulah's laugh was sharp. Tobias glanced at me for half a second, then back at his phone. "Right, exactly." I picked up the father-son photo from the display, the one where I was teaching him to ride a bike. He must have been 6. I'd spent 3 hours running beside him that day, hands ready to catch him, promising I'd always be there. "Dad, did you remember to get your suit pressed?" Tobias asked, not looking up from his phone. "It's pressed." "Because Rosalind's photographer is really particular about not having poor people ruin the aesthetic?" I asked. Rosalind's laugh tinkled. "Well, when you put it that way." I was joking. "Were you, though?" She exchanged a look with her mother. My phone buzzed. I set the photo down carefully, thumb rubbing once over young Tobias's face. The message lit up my screen. "Jessica, Cascade Celebrations. Mr. Bennett, confirming final payment $127,000. Vendors need deposit release authorization." Across the room, Tobias was laughing at something Horatio said. Something about parents who can't even afford decent wedding gifts. I looked at my son, really looked at him. The way he avoided my eyes, the way he leaned toward Horatio like a plant bending toward the sun, the way he'd chosen them. 30 years ago, I'd held him up on that bike, made him promises, built a business so he'd never struggle, sent him to college, paid off his student loans, bought his first car, and here he stood, laughing at jokes about his poor father. My finger hovered over the screen. "Orville, be a dear and move those chairs," Beulah gestured vaguely. "The photographer needs the space clear." I typed back, "Stand by. May have changes." Jessica appeared again, professional smile in place. "Mr. Bennett, the lighting crew wants to confirm the uplighting color scheme you selected." "Mr. Bennett?" Rosalind's voice dripped mockery. "Jessica, honey, you mean Mr. Coleman. He's paying for all this?" Jessica's smile didn't waver. Of course. My apologies. But she looked at me, not Horatio. The florist bustled past with another massive arrangement. More lilies, more money, more proof that the Colemans, who I knew for a fact were drowning in debt, were willing to take credit for everything. So, Orville, Horatio moved closer. You'll be at the ceremony, of course. We reserved a seat for you, in the back. Didn't want you to feel on display. How thoughtful. Well, we understand your situation. Limited means. It's nothing to be ashamed of. His hand landed on my shoulder, heavy, condescending. Not everyone can be successful. Beulah nodded. My mother always said, you can't help where you come from. Rosalind was recording now. Phone up, capturing this moment for whatever social media she'd post it to. This is so authentic. Real family dynamics. Tobias cleared his throat. Dad, maybe you should... Should what? I asked. He looked away. Nothing. Never mind. I watched him. My son, the bike, the promises, the college fund, every birthday, every Christmas, every moment I'd been there, and here, now, this. Actually, I said slowly, I should probably check on a few things. Check on what? Horatio laughed. You're not exactly in charge of anything. I pulled out my phone again, looked at Jessica's message, looked at my son, at Horatio, at Beulah, at Rosalind with her recording phone. My thumb hovered. Orville? Jessica appeared again. Do you need anything? Just a minute. Tobias laughed loudly at another of Horatio's jokes. Something about fathers who contribute nothing. The sound echoed in the converted schoolhouse. In my chest. I pressed down. The message sent. Stand by for my call tomorrow. Possible cancellation. I pocketed my phone. Looked at my son one more time. He still wasn't looking at me. Still laughing. Still choosing. I walked toward the exit. Nobody said goodbye. Nobody noticed. I pushed through the historic doors into Portland's gray afternoon, keys already in my hand. Behind me, Horatio's voice boomed. Finally. Now we can plan without dead weight. The door closed. My fork scraped against the plate. The sound cut through the noise of 300 people eating overpriced salmon. I sat at table 27 near the back, right where they'd put me on the seating chart, far enough away that I wouldn't ruin the aesthetic. The ceremony had finished an hour ago. Tobias and Rosalind were married. Official. Legal. Done. I'd watched from the fourth row, close enough to see, far enough to be forgettable. Now dinner was over. The toasts were starting. Horatio grabbed the microphone. Feedback squealed. Crystal clinked as guests turned. Can I have everyone's attention? His voice boomed through the speakers. I want to thank everyone who made this spectacular day possible, especially my beautiful wife Beulah and myself. Beulah leaned into her own microphone. We spared no expense for our daughter's special day. Unlike some people. Horatio's eyes found me. 300 faces followed his gaze. Some people here today contributed nothing but genetics. Laughter rippled through the room. Polite, uncertain, but laughter. My fork stopped moving. I set it down slowly, hands completely steady. Tobias, son, come here. Horatio pulled my son close to the microphone. You're getting a real family now. People who understand quality. Success. Tobias's voice cracked. Thanks, Horatio. I really appreciate. Not like that father of yours back there. Horatio pointed directly at me. Every head swiveled. Look at him. Ross dress for less suit. Thinks he belongs here with real people. Rosalind's laugh cut through the silence. Oh, Daddy, stop. But she was recording on her phone, capturing this, documenting her father's hilarious speech. The room held its breath, waiting, watching. Let me be clear, Orville. Horatio's voice dropped to mock serious. You're not a father, you're garbage. Garbage we tolerate because Tobias has your last name. But don't fool yourself. You didn't build this moment. We did. Someone gasped. Someone else whispered. Tobias stared at his plate. Face red, mouth shut, silent. I stood. My chair scraped loud against the hardwood. Orville, please, someone whispered nearby. I pulled out my phone. Dialed Jessica's number. The event coordinator I'd spoken to yesterday. The one who knew the truth. She answered on the first ring. Jessica, I said. My voice carried in the sudden quiet. Activate code red. Now. Confirmed, Mr. Bennett. I hung up, pocketed the phone, sat back down. 3 minutes. That's what I'd told her. 3 minutes to shut it all down. Horatio was still talking. Now, as I was saying, real family means... The lights flickered, once, twice. Music died mid-song. Darkness except for emergency lighting. Red glow from exit signs. Confused murmurs rising. What's happening? Beulah's voice pitched high. Why is the music... Rosalind spun around, phone still up. Staff members began removing centerpieces. Quickly, professionally. The coordinator spoke quietly to the DJ. Servers started clearing tables. Excuse me. Horatio grabbed a server's arm. What's going on? Event's been cancelled, sir. We're shutting down. Cancelled? By who? The client, sir. I'm the client. No, sir. The server pulled free gently. You're not. Horatio's Rolex caught the emergency light when he gestured wildly. For something that shiny, you'd think it would have helped him see what was coming. This is ridiculous. Beulah grabbed her husband's arm. We paid for this. Actually, Jessica appeared, professional and calm. You didn't. What? The payment came from Bennett Productions, LLC. Mr. Orville Bennett is the client. He's authorized the shutdown. 300 faces turned. Found me. Stared. Rosalind's phone slipped from her fingers. Clattered on the floor. The video probably still recording. Then someone screamed from the back. Actually screamed. An older woman standing, pointing. Oh my... Wait, I know that man. That's Orville Bennett. Another voice. Male. Younger. Who? Orville Bennett. He produced Midnight in Manhattan and Crystal Dreams. He's a Broadway producer. He's a millionaire. Phones lit up. 300 screens glowing in the dimness. Fingers flying. Googling. Searching. Orville Bennett, Broadway producer. Net worth $47 million. Wait, that? Orville Bennett? The whisper spread. A wildfire through expensive haircuts and designer dresses. Shock rippling outward from table to table. Horatio's face drained of color. Milk white. Mouth opening and closing. Beulah's champagne glass hit the floor at the exact moment the main lights came back up. Perfect timing. If this were one of my shows, I couldn't have staged it better. The glass shattered, champagne spreading across marble like blood. You... Horatio started. I paid for everything, I said. Quiet. Everyone heard. The venue, the flowers, the food, the band. That photographer you're so worried about. Your daughter's dress. The rings. All of it. But you said... I didn't say anything. You assumed. You took credit. You stood up there and told 300 people I was garbage, that I contributed nothing. Rosalind was on her phone, scrolling frantically. It's true. Oh, no, Daddy, it's all true. There are pictures of him at the Tony Awards. I don't understand, Tobias finally spoke. Finally looked at me. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That I was successful? That I had money? I stood again, walked toward the head table. 300 people parted like water. I wanted you to love me for who I was, not what I had. But you chose them. You chose people who insulted me, who called me garbage, who laughed at my suit. I stopped at the head table, looked down at my son. You stood there and let them. I didn't know. You didn't defend me. That's what you knew. Horatio recovered, puffed up. Now wait just a minute. We didn't know about your money. If you'd just said something. So you only respect people with money? Silence. That's what I thought. I looked at Jessica. She nodded. Mr. Bennett, the venue is cleared for your statement. The lights came back up. Full brightness. Harsh. Casting shadows across 300 shocked faces. Some pitying. Some angry. Most just confused. Tobias stared at me, mouth open, like he was seeing a stranger. Maybe he was. I have one thing to say. My voice carried without the microphone. Years of theater training, projection, presence. Marriage is about partnership, trust, standing by each other. I looked at my son. Today you showed me you can't do that. You let your in-laws humiliate me. You laughed along. You chose cruelty over love. Dad, I paid for this wedding. $127,000. Consider it my final gift. I pulled an envelope from my jacket, set it on the table. Inside is documentation proving everything. The payments, the contracts, all in my name. Horatio lunged for it. I was faster. Old, but not dead. This is for Tobias, so he knows the truth. I pushed it toward my son. What you do with that truth is your choice. But this marriage, this party, this ends now. I turned, walked toward the exit. 300 people, silent, watching. Mr. Bennett, Jessica's voice, your statement was perfect. I didn't turn around, kept walking. Through the converted schoolhouse, through those historic doors, into Portland's evening air. Behind me, chaos erupted. Voices rising, arguments starting. The Colemans probably scrambling. Tobias probably still staring at that envelope. My phone buzzed. Text message. Ophelia, my daughter. I saw the video. Someone posted it already. Are you okay? I texted back. I'm fine. Coming home. Another buzz. Unknown number. This is Marlene Winters. We worked together on Crystal Dreams. I was at the wedding. What you did took courage. Call me. I pocketed the phone. Unlocked my car. A modest sedan. Nothing fancy. I'd never needed fancy. The wedding venue glowed behind me. Lights blazing, people streaming out, confusion and shock, and probably a lot of questions. I started the engine. 30 years ago, I'd held my son up on a bike, made promises, and I'd kept them. Every single one. But some promises are one-sided. Some love isn't returned. I pulled out of the parking lot, drove toward home, toward my daughter who actually gave a damn, toward whatever came next. The wedding was over. The marriage might not last the week. And somewhere in that converted schoolhouse, my son was opening an envelope and learning the truth. Whatever he chose to do with it would tell me everything I needed to know. 300 phones came out simultaneously. The emergency lighting made everyone look like they were at a ants trying to contact my ghost. Except I was right there, very much alive and very much done with their nonsense. Blue glow bathed faces as fingers flew across screens. The whispers started small, then grew. Holy, look at this! A woman's voice cut through the murmurs. Broadway producer, Midnight in Manhattan grossed $340 million. Net worth $47 million? $47 million. The whispers became a roar. Phone screens multiplied like fireflies in the dim red exit lighting. Horatio's hand, raised mid-gesture, slowly dropped to his side. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. That's not, he finally managed. Possible, I finished. Check the public records. I'm on the Lincoln Center donor wall. Beulah grabbed her husband's forearm. Her knuckles went white. The champagne glass in her other hand tilted, liquid sloshing dangerously close to the rim. Rosalind's phone slipped through her fingers, clattered on the table. She didn't pick it up, just stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Orville, listen. Horatio stumbled over his words. I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? I pulled the contract from my jacket, folded neatly. I'd kept it there all night, just in case. This says Orville Bennett, client, Cascade Celebrations, LLC, my company. $127,000, my money. Beulah's voice came out strangled. We didn't know. You knew exactly what you were saying. You called me garbage. I looked at the 300 faces watching. Every single one. You all heard it. It was a joke. Horatio's face flushed purple. You know how wedding speeches are. Jokes are funny. The wedding cake, a 5-tier monstrosity that probably cost more than most people's cars, chose that moment to topple over. The catering staff were rapidly disassembling display tables. The top tier hit the floor with a splat, white frosting spreading across marble. Symbolic, really. Dad, please! Tobias pushed through the crowd. His face was white, completely drained. I didn't know about any of this. You never told me. I never told you I was wealthy. True. I folded the contract. But you knew they were insulting me. You heard every word. I was trying not to make a scene. You made your choice. I turned toward Jessica. She stood near the door, professional as always. Clear the venue. Dad, wait. You laughed, Tobias. When Horatio called me garbage, you looked at your plate and stayed silent. That's all I needed to know. His hand reached for my arm. I stepped back. Physical distance matching the emotional gulf. Tobias took one step toward me. Stopped. Took a step back toward the Colemans. Froze in the middle. Couldn't commit either direction. Security guards appeared. Jessica had positioned them beforehand. Part of the code red protocol. They began forming the corridor toward the exits. Guests pressed around me. Questions flew. Apologies. Someone tried to take my photo. Mr. Bennett, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. Could you comment? Someone yelled, Can I get a selfie? In the middle of the chaos. The audacity was almost impressive. Jessica appeared at my elbow. Your car's out front, Mr. Bennett. Thank you, Jessica. Final payment will transfer Monday, plus your bonus. You don't have to. You executed perfectly. That's worth rewarding. I walked toward the exit. Straight spine, measured pace, every step deliberate. Behind me, Rosalind's voice. Daddy, do something. Horatio's response. Shut up. Just shut up. The corridor of security guards parted. Cool Portland air hit my face. The valet had my car waiting, engine running. I slid behind the wheel. My hand shook slightly as I turned the key. First sign of emotion breaking through the performance. The venue glowed behind me in my rearview mirror. Lights blazing. People streaming out in confused clusters. Silhouettes against the historic building. My phone rang before I'd even left the parking lot. Ophelia's face on the screen. I answered on Bluetooth. Ophelia, it's late in Barcelona. Dad. Her voice was tight, controlled anger. I'm watching your wedding disaster go viral on Twitter. What happened? Your brother chose a side. I saw the video. They called you. Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm fine. You're not fine. But that's not why I'm calling. Papers rustled in the background. She was in her office, middle of the night, working. They're going to come after you. The Colemans. People like that don't just accept humiliation. Let them try. Dad, I'm serious. Be careful. Document everything and call Bartholomew in the morning. I hadn't thought of my old lawyer in years. You think I'll need? I think you're about to be in a war, and wars require strategy. I pulled into my parking garage in Pearl District. The building was quiet. Warm lights from apartments glowing against the night. Safe. Normal. Everything the wedding wasn't. I'll call him, I said. Good. And Dad, I love you. Whatever happened with Tobias, you did the right thing. Thanks, sweetheart. We hung up. I sat in the car for a moment. Engine ticking as it cooled. The concrete walls of the garage pressing in. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Texts. Calls. Voicemails piling up like snow. Tobias. Rosalind. Numbers I didn't recognize. I turned it face down on the passenger seat. Upstairs, my apartment looked exactly as I'd left it that morning. The vintage Broadway posters on the walls. Original prints from shows I'd produced. My collection of playbills organized by decade on built-in shelves. Simple furniture I'd chosen because I liked it, not because it impressed anyone. I poured 2 fingers of scotch. Sat by the window overlooking the city. Downtown Portland spread out below, lights twinkling in the darkness. The phone buzzed again. I picked it up. 47 missed calls. 89 text messages. I started reading them one by one. Message 3 from Beulah. We were just joking. Don't you have a sense of humor? Message 7 from Horatio. This is beyond inappropriate. Call me immediately. Message 15 from Rosalind. You ruined everything. I hope you're proud. Message 23 from Tobias. Dad, please answer. We need to talk. By message 35, I realized Ophelia was right. This wasn't over. This was just beginning. Sleep wasn't happening. I gave up trying around midnight. Coffee at 3 a.m. tastes different. Bitter. Honest. I sat by the window with my notepad, city lights reflecting in the glass, making plans and crossing them out. The phone kept lighting up, message after message. I read each one, took screenshots of the particularly damaging ones. My expression hardened with each swipe. 3:47 a.m. Tobias. Dad, please answer. We need to talk. 3:52 a.m. Tobias. I know you're awake. Your light is on. How did he... I looked out the window, down at the street. A car sat parked across from my building. Someone in the driver's seat. Too dark to see who. 4:15 a.m. Rosalind. This is ridiculous. You embarrassed us all. 4:23 a.m. Beulah. Orville, we need to discuss this like adults. Beulah sent 14 text messages between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Either she never slept, or she had a very productive nervous breakdown. I was betting on the breakdown. 4:30 a.m. Horatio. Call me immediately. We can resolve this. 4:45 a.m. Beulah. We were joking. Don't you have a sense of humor? 5:12 a.m. Tobias. Mom would be ashamed of you. I stopped reading at that one, put the phone down, picked it back up, stared at those words. My late wife's name weaponized, used as ammunition. I deleted the message without responding. My mistake was thinking they'd be paralyzed, ashamed, apologetic. Instead, within 12 hours, they'd regrouped, crafted a narrative, and launched a counterattack. I'd underestimated their desperation. 6 a.m. Early enough to call. I pulled out my old address book, actual paper, leather-bound, contacts from 30 years in theater. I dialed Bartholomew Holmes. Bartholomew Holmes! His voice was rough with sleep. Bart, it's Orville Bennett. Silence. Then, Orville? Jesus, what time is it? 6 a.m. your time. Sorry. 6. Orville, I haven't heard from you in what, 10 years? Since you retired from... He paused. Wait. I saw something online last night. Wedding disaster? That was you? That was me. Holy hell. Papers rustled. A lamp clicked on. I heard his wife's muffled complaint. Okay, I'm awake now. What do you need? Legal advice, strategy, and Loretta's number if you still have it. Your old PR manager? Yeah, I've got it. Orville, what are you planning? Nothing illegal. That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be. I called Loretta next. She answered on the first ring, voice clear, already awake. I saw the video, she said before I could speak. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, you're everywhere. That's what I need to talk about. Come to Bart's office. 2 p.m., I'll be there. She hung up. Always efficient, Loretta. I showered, shaved, put on jeans and a comfortable sweater. Not Ross dress for less. Just normal. The clothing of someone who had nothing to prove. More messages piled up through the morning. I read them methodically. Documented everything. The threats. The gaslighting. The blame shifting. Each one revealed their strategy more clearly. They weren't apologizing. They were attacking. I thought I'd have a week to plan this carefully. They gave me a night. Bartholomew's office was downtown in one of those historic buildings Portland specialized in. Exposed brick. High ceilings. The smell of old books and coffee. He met me at the door. 65 years old, still sharp. Gray hair thinning, but eyes bright. Orville Bennett. He shook my hand. Firm grip. You look terrible. Thanks, Bart. No, I mean it. When's the last time you slept? Sometime before my son's wedding. Loretta arrived 10 minutes later, tablet in hand, energy radiating off her in waves. She hugged me hard. All right. Bartholomew spread documents across his conference table. Legal pads, printouts, laptop open. I've been reviewing Oregon public records since you called. The Colemans are in deeper than you thought. How deep? $850,000 deep. He slid papers toward me. Property records, mortgage documents, court filings, 3 mortgages, 2 car loans, both lease to own on vehicles they can't afford. Credit cards maxed. And get this. Their country club membership lapsed 6 months ago, but they're pretending they're still members. Loretta whistled. That's not financial trouble, that's drowning. Which explains, I said slowly, why they were so desperate to land a wealthy son-in-law. Bartholomew nodded. They needed Rosalind to marry money. Tobias was their ticket out. Except Tobias doesn't have money. He has me. Had you, Loretta corrected gently. I picked up the mortgage documents. 3 properties, all underwater. The math was brutal and clear. So we sue them? Bartholomew asked. No. I pulled out my old Rolodex. Actual physical cards in a rotating holder. Names and numbers from 30 years in theater. We're not doing this legally. Orville, nothing illegal, I assured him. Just theatrical. I'm going to do what I do best. Put on a show. Loretta leaned forward. What kind of show? The kind where the villains expose themselves. I flipped through cards. Found the one I wanted. I still have contacts at the Oregonian. Entertainment reporters who covered my Broadway days. They love a good fall from grace story. You're going to leak their financial situation? I'm going to provide them with publicly available information and let them draw their own conclusions. Bartholomew frowned. That's not slander if it's true. Exactly. I tapped the card. Mark Preston, investigative journalist. He loves exposing frauds. This is brutal, Loretta said, but she was smiling. I'm in. What's my role? Social media strategy. Make sure the right people see the right information at the right time. She opened her tablet, started typing. The video already has 1.2 million views on TikTok. Someone added the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme when the lights went out. It's trending on Twitter. We can leverage that. I'd never had a show with numbers that good. You're orchestrating this like a production, Bartholomew observed. 3 acts, I agreed. Act 1 just finished. The humiliation. Now comes Act 2, the revelation. My phone rang. Horatio's name lit the screen. I looked at Bartholomew. Oregon's a one-party consent state for recording, right? It is. I put the phone on speaker, hit record. Orville. Horatio's voice was hard, controlled rage beneath professional veneer. We need to talk about your little stunt last night. My stunt? That's rich. You humiliated my family, destroyed my daughter's wedding. You called me garbage. It was a joke. Jokes are supposed to be funny, Horatio. Try again. Listen to me. His voice dropped to a growl. If you spread any lies about us, any rumors, we will sue you for every penny you have. I laughed. Actually laughed. Couldn't help it. Bartholomew and Loretta exchanged glances. Sue me for what, Horatio? Slander? Exactly. Can't slander someone with the truth, and public records are wonderful things. I let that hang. Let him process. Your mortgages, your car leases, your lapsed country club membership, all public information. Silence. Horatio threatened to sue me for every penny I had. I did the math quickly. At $47 million, that would be approximately 4.7 billion pennies. Good luck with that, Horatio. See, that's the thing about living a lie, Horatio. Eventually, someone looks up the truth. You son of a... I hung up, saved the audio file. Evidence for later. Bartholomew gathered his notes. Mark Preston from the Oregonian expects your call tomorrow morning. I already reached out to him, old contact from a case 5 years ago. Loretta closed her tablet. I'll draft the social media monitoring plan tonight. Track the narrative. Make sure the right people see the right things. And Orville? Bartholomew looked at me seriously. Whatever you're planning for Act 3, yes? Make it worth the ticket price. I drove home as the sun set over Portland, painting the sky orange and red. The city looked beautiful, peaceful, like nothing had changed. Everything had changed. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Tobias. Dad, please. They're saying terrible things about you. Let me come over. Let me explain. I read it twice, 3 times. Saw the genuine confusion beneath the words. The question I hadn't expected. Why didn't you ever tell me? Did you think I only cared about money? Maybe he wasn't entirely mercenary. Maybe he was just weak, easily manipulated, desperate to belong somewhere. Maybe that was worse. I typed back, you had your chance to speak. At the wedding, you chose silence. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I'm sorry. 2 words. Too late. Too little. I stared at those words. Upstairs, my apartment waited. My vintage posters, my simple life, the life I'd chosen, the life they'd mocked. I deleted Tobias's message and opened my notebook instead. Act 2 would begin tomorrow, and unlike my son, I wouldn't stay silent when it mattered. My phone buzzed at 6 a.m. Monday morning. Mark Preston's name on the screen. It's live, he said. Front page of the digital edition. Print version hits doorsteps in an hour. I opened my laptop. There it was. Portland's Fake Rich, the Coleman family's house of cards. The subheading read, How One Family Built a Lifestyle on Debt, Deception, and Desperation. Mark, this is... Thorough? I know. 3 mortgages on a house they don't own. Leased luxury cars. Counterfeit Cartier. The country club membership that lapsed in January, but they kept showing up anyway. He paused. Public records don't lie, Orville. No, I agreed. They don't. I spent the next hour reading. Every detail meticulously documented. Property records showing the West Hills mansion was rented, not owned. DMV registrations revealing both Mercedes were lease-to-own agreements they were defaulting on. Court filings listing $850,000 in combined debts. Interviews with former business partners describing Horatio's pattern of living beyond his means. The article even included a photograph of Beulah's handbag, the one she'd clutched so protectively at the wedding venue. Mark had found the exact knockoff website where she'd purchased it for $43. The site was called Totally Real Designer, bagsnotfake.com. You can't make this stuff up. By noon, the story had gone viral. Local news picked it up, then regional. By evening, national outlets were running segments. The wedding toast that exposed everything. Loretta called Tuesday afternoon. You need to see this. She sent screenshots. Rosalind's Instagram follower count, 45,234. I refreshed. 42,091. Refreshed again. 39,056. What's happening? The digital forensics guy you hired. He found proof that 68% of her followers are bots. Purchased from a farm in Bangladesh. He's posting receipts on Twitter. Receipts? Transaction records, IP addresses, the whole 9 yards. She laughed. She's losing followers faster than water through a sieve. I refreshed the page myself. 33,127 followers. Down from 45,000 yesterday. She built her entire career on a lie, Loretta said, just like her parents. Rosalind posted an Instagram story about fake people and karma. Within an hour, someone replied with receipts showing her followers were literally fake people. Tuesday morning brought my favorite moment. Beulah showed up at the country club in her Chanel suit, the one Mark's article had identified as a $40 knockoff. She pulled up to the gates in her rental Mercedes, window down, ready to breeze through. The guard checked his list, shook his head. Other members' cars drove past, their occupants staring. Beulah's face turned crimson. She argued, gestured. The guard remained unmoved. Eventually she drove away, tires squealing. Loretta's contact had captured video. We didn't leak it, didn't need to. Someone else did. By Wednesday, Horatio's phone was ringing constantly. Creditors who'd been patient suddenly weren't. Someone, my former Broadway investors who happened to work in banking, had casually mentioned the Coleman situation at a private dinner. Information spread through Portland's financial community, like rumors through a theater company. I didn't orchestrate that, just planted seeds. Let them grow. Horatio called me 17 times Wednesday morning. I let every single one go to voicemail. Around call 14, I made popcorn. By 17, I was enjoying myself. Wednesday evening, my buzzer rang. I checked the camera. Tobias stood in the lobby, shoulders hunched, face blotchy. I buzzed him up. "Dad, please!" His voice cracked the moment I opened the door. "Let me in!" He looked terrible. Unwashed hair, wrinkled shirt, eyes red and swollen like he'd been crying for hours. "You destroyed my life," he said, pushing past me inside. The Oregonian article, Rosalind's followers. Her parents are being investigated by creditors. She broke up with me, by a text. I'm sorry about... No, you're not. You planned this. You're punishing me because I didn't defend you at the wedding. I'm not punishing you. I kept my voice level. Theater training. Project Calm, even when you don't feel it. I'm just not protecting people who called me garbage anymore. But I didn't call you that. They did. You stood there, silent. That was your choice, Tobias. He collapsed onto my couch, head in hands, shoulders shaking. I didn't know what to say. I was scared. They were paying for everything, I thought. You thought wrong. My phone pinged. Text from unknown number. Then I realized Rosalind must have been messaging Tobias before blocking him. He'd forwarded them to me. Your father did this. He ruined my brand. He's hurting because you laughed when... I don't care what he's hurting about. Fix this or we're done. Rosalind, please. Done. Don't contact me again. You're poor now anyway. I showed Tobias the screen. He read it. Face crumpling. She never loved me, he whispered. No, I agreed. She didn't? My hand reached toward his shoulder, hovered there. I wanted to comfort him, wanted to pull my son close like I had when he was small and scraped his knee. But I remembered that toast. You're garbage, Tobias looking at his plate. Silent. I pulled my hand back. You should go, I said quietly. Dad. Go, Tobias. He stood, walked to the door, turned back. I'm sorry. For everything. I know it doesn't matter now, but I'm sorry. The door closed behind him. I found the old photo on my bookshelf. Tobias at 6, grinning on that bike. My thumb rubbed across the glass. Then I carefully set it face down and walked back to my laptop. Later that night, Loretta forwarded me another text exchange. She had a source close to the Colemans, a housekeeper who was fed up with not being paid. Horatio to Beulah. This is your fault. You insisted on that toast. Beulah to Horatio. My fault. You're the one who called him garbage, Horatio? Because you said he wasn't contributing, Beulah. We're finished, Horatio. Socially, financially, everything. Horatio. Not yet. I found a lawyer. We're fighting back. I stared at that last line. Fighting back. Of course they were. People like the Colemans never just accepted consequences. Thursday morning, my phone rang. Bartholomew. We have a problem. I set down my coffee. What kind of problem? The Colemans hired Gerald Wickham. Should that name mean something to me? Shark lawyer. Takes impossible cases. Finds angles nobody else sees. He called me an hour ago. Very polite. Very professional. Said he's found something interesting in your past. My stomach dropped. What past? A failed production, 2010. Echoes of Tomorrow. Investors lost money. That show was sabotaged by a competitor. I paid everyone back. Can you prove the sabotage? I went silent. Orville, can you prove it? I'll find a way. They're filing papers tomorrow. Fraud allegations. The Oregonians already asking for comment. Bartholomew's voice was tight. This could destroy everything you've built. Your reputation, your credibility, the narrative's shifting. I looked out my window at Portland's morning skyline. Somewhere out there, the Colemans were celebrating. They'd found a weapon, and I hadn't seen it coming. They're calling it fraud. Bartholomew dropped legal papers on his desk Thursday afternoon, claiming you misrepresented the production's financial viability, took investors' money knowing it would fail, then disappeared with the funds. That's not what happened. I know that, but can you prove it? He pointed at the complaint. They have depositions from 2 investors saying they never got their money back. I paid everyone back. Every single investor received a check. From what account? Where are the records? The canceled checks? Receipts? He leaned forward. Orville, that was 15 years ago. Do you have documentation? My hands went cold. My stomach turned to ice. That's what I thought, Bartholomew said quietly. I'd been so proud. Paid everyone back quietly. Didn't make a big deal about losing $2 million of my own money. Just wanted to move on. Forget the whole disaster. Now it was coming back to destroy me. Loretta's call came an hour later. Have you seen Twitter? I've been avoiding it. Don't. You need to see this. She sent links. Headlines everywhere. Broadway mogul's dark past. Failed production missing millions. Bennett wedding revenge. Justified or projection. Sources say producer has history of financial irregularities. Orville, Loretta's voice was serious, the narrative's getting away from us. Fast. People are starting to wonder if maybe the Colemans had a point. This is insane. I paid those investors back with my own money. Then we need to prove it, because right now, public opinion is shifting. I spent Thursday night pacing my apartment, wearing a path in the carpet between window and desk. My coffee went cold. I made more. That went cold too. Gerald Wickham called himself a shark lawyer. I looked him up online. 3-star Yelp reviews. Apparently sharks can be mediocre too, but effective enough to find my one vulnerability. My phone rang at 2 a.m. Ophelia from Barcelona. Dad, I saw the news. Are you okay? My voice cracked. I don't know how to fight this. They found the one thing I can't easily defend. Because you didn't keep records? Because I was too proud. I paid everyone back quietly. Didn't make a big deal. Just wanted to move on. Now it's coming back to destroy me. Dad, her voice was firm. Do you remember what you told me when my dissertation defense went wrong? When my advisor ambushed me with questions I hadn't prepared for? Ophelia, this isn't... You said, every play has 3 acts. When Act 2 goes badly, you don't quit. You improvise, regroup, and make Act 3 unforgettable. She paused. This is your Act 2 crisis. What are you going to do for Act 3? I sat up straighter. She was right. I'd taught her that. Believed it. Lived it. I'm going to find proof. There you go. How? I know someone who covered that story. Someone who might still have records. Friday morning, I pulled out my Rolodex again, flipped through cards until I found it. Fisher, Zechariah, NYT. My fingers shook slightly as I dialed. Zechariah Fisher. The voice was gravelly, aged. Zeke, it's Orville Bennett. Long pause. Orville Bennett. Haven't heard that name in a while. I saw your wedding drama online. Spectacular. That's not why I'm calling. No? I heard papers shuffling. Let me guess. It's about Echoes of Tomorrow, 2010. The production that went sideways. You covered it for the Times. I did. Biggest Broadway flop of that season. You lost, what, $8 million of investor money? And $2 million of my own? And I paid every investor back, Zeke. Every single one. From my personal accounts. Can you prove that? That's why I'm calling you. You were there. You interviewed people. You must have notes, documents, something. Orville, that was 15 years ago. Please, the Colemans are using this to destroy me. They're claiming fraud. If I can't prove I paid people back, my reputation is finished. Hold on. More shuffling. I kept archives. Old habit. Never throw anything away. Give me 24 hours. Zeke, if the documentation exists, I'll find it. And Orville, if this story is what I think it is, it might make a hell of an article. Redemption arc. Producer who quietly sacrificed his own fortune to protect investors. That's good copy. Zeke said he never throws anything away. His office probably looked like a paper hoarder's paradise. But thank heaven for archivists. They're like squirrels preparing for nuclear winter. Saturday crawled by. Every hour felt like a week. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus, just waited. Saturday afternoon, my phone rang. Zeke, I've got it, all of it. Bank records showing you transferred $2.1 million from personal savings to 19 investors. Testimonials from 12 of them confirming receipt. Emails proving Marcus Grimm sabotaged the production. He's dead now, so no libel issues. Union officials admitting they took bribes to strike. The whole story. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in 3 days. When can you publish? Tuesday morning, front page, business section. The producer who saved his investors. An untold story of Broadway integrity. It's a hell of a piece, Orville. Makes you look like a hero. I just did what was right. That's what makes it such a good story. I hung up and composed a text. Sent it to Horatio, Beulah, and Gerald Wickham. I believe we've both made our points. Perhaps it's time for a conversation. Adults, negotiating in good faith. Le Pigeon Restaurant, Monday, 7 p.m. Private dining room reserved. Bring your lawyer if you want. Let's end this. Horatio's response came fast. Why should we negotiate? We have you cornered. I smiled. Type back. Do you? Or do I have information you might want to hear before this gets uglier? Your choice. But if you don't show, I'll assume you prefer the nuclear option. Gerald Wickham replied, Mr. Bennett, this is Gerald Wickham. We'll attend. But understand, we're coming from a position of strength. We'll see. Monday, 7 p.m. Don't be late. The Colemans thought they'd found my weakness. They were so excited they probably popped counterfeit champagne. I would have paid to see that celebration. Sunday afternoon, Zeke called again. Article's done. Editor loves it. Tuesday morning, front page. What about your meeting Monday night? The Colemans will still think they have the upper hand. Let them think that. I want to see their faces when they realize they've been playing checkers while I've been playing chess. I looked at my reflection in the apartment window. Behind me, vintage Broadway posters lined the walls. Shows I'd produced, gambles I'd taken, dreams I'd made real. The Colemans thought they knew me, thought they'd found my weakness. They had no idea what was coming. I texted Bartholomew. Meeting is on, Le Pigeon, Monday, 7 p.m. Trust me. His response, I hope you know what you're doing. I did. For the first time since Thursday, I absolutely did. This was going to be one hell of a final act. Le Pigeon at 7 p.m. looked exactly like a stage set. Exposed brick walls, candlelight, wine bottles gleaming on dark wood shelves. I arrived early, positioned myself facing the door. Control the space. Theater directing, 1-on-1. Horatio entered at 7:05 p.m. Gerald Wickham beside him, Beulah trailing behind. Horatio's confident stride faltered when he saw my slight smile. Thank you for coming. I gestured to the seats across from me. Please sit. I've taken the liberty of ordering wine. Horatio remained standing. We're not here for wine, Bennett. Let's get to business. Of course, I smiled. I wanted to discuss ending our conflict. It's gone too far. Hurt too many people. Beulah sat cautiously. You're willing to drop this? The articles? The social media attacks? I'm willing to consider it. If you're willing to make a genuine public apology for what you said at the wedding. Acknowledge you were wrong. Gerald leaned forward. Mr. Bennett, my clients have already suffered significant reputational damage. They called me garbage in front of 300 people. My voice stayed level. They mocked me, humiliated me while I was literally paying for their daughter's wedding. An apology seems reasonable. Horatio's jaw clenched. Fine, we apologize. Is that what you want to hear? Publicly, written statement, posted to your social media, sent to the Oregonian. This is extortion, Gerald began. No, I interrupted. This is accountability. You wanted the public stage. You got it. Now use it to tell the truth. All right. Horatio's voice was strained. We'll do the apology. Now can we end this? Almost. I pulled another folder from my briefcase. Just one more small detail. What detail? Beulah's voice rose. I bought your debts. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Gerald Wickham charged $800 an hour. I watched him check his watch 3 times in 10 minutes. That's $40 worth of watch checking. Money well spent, Gerald. You... What? Horatio's face went white. Your mortgages, credit cards, car loans, business debts, all of it. $850,000 worth. I purchased the debt portfolio through a financial acquisition company last week. I slid the documentation across. I now own your obligations, which makes me your creditor. Gerald snatched the papers, scanning rapidly. His face fell. This is legal. Completely legal. I leaned back. Distressed debt purchases happen every day. Your creditors were eager to unload bad accounts. I got everything for about 30 cents on the dollar. Excellent investment. Beulah's wineglass slipped from her fingers. Red wine spread across the white tablecloth like blood. You can't, she started. I can, and I am. As your creditor, I can demand immediate full payment. Or, I paused, we can negotiate terms. What terms? Horatio's hands shook. I'll forgive half. $425,000. Gone. If you agreed to 3 conditions, the public apology, payment for Tobias's therapy, whatever he needs, as long as he needs it, and you never contact my family again. Ever. We'll lose our house. Beulah's tears started. You already lost it. The foreclosure paperwork is filed, just pending final proceedings. I'm actually offering you a way to keep something. Take my deal, you'll owe $425,000 instead of $850,000. Manageable if you downsize, get real jobs. Stop pretending to be rich. The door to our private room opened. Rosalind walked in, phone in hand. What are you doing here? Beulah gasped. I was invited. Rosalind looked at me. Wasn't I, Mr. Bennett? I nodded slowly. We'd been texting since Saturday. She'd reached out, offering information. I'd suspected a trap, but Bartholomew had verified her recordings were real. Rosalind, don't. Horatio stood. Sit down, Daddy. Her voice was ice. You're going to want to be sitting for this. She wore heels that probably cost more than I paid for my first car. Except these were actually real, unlike her parents' lifestyle. Some things she got right. She placed her phone on the table, opened a recording app. Dozens of files listed. I've been recording you two for months, ever since you started planning Tobias's wedding as your big financial rescue. She looked at me. Mr. Bennett, you should hear file 17. From March. She pressed play. Horatio's voice filled the room. We need a backup plan, Beulah. If Bennett doesn't conveniently die soon, we need another angle. I'm thinking we convince Tobias to sue for incompetence. Declare the old man mentally unfit. He's what, 68? We can argue age-related decline, get conservatorship, control the money ourselves. Beulah's voice. Can we do that? I already talked to a lawyer. It's possible. Harder if the parent is competent. But with the right doctor's testimony, the right pressure on Tobias... The recording ended. I sat frozen. My hands went cold. My vision narrowed. They'd wanted me dead. Or locked up. Declared incompetent. Institutionalized. Stripped of everything I'd built. There are more, Rosalind said quietly. Hours of them. Planning how to manipulate Tobias. How to drain your accounts. How to make you look incompetent. She looked at her parents with disgust. You were going to destroy an innocent man, and you were going to use your own son-in-law to do it. That recording is inadmissible, Gerald started. In court? Maybe. I finally found my voice. But not in the court of public opinion. Not with the Oregonian. Not with the financial community who needs to know you were planning elder fraud. Orville, please. Beulah reached across the table. We were just talking. We never actually. You consulted a lawyer about declaring me incompetent. You planned to manipulate my son into betraying me. You weren't joking. You were scheming. I stood. I came here thinking you were just cruel, greedy people. I didn't realize you were criminals. Horatio's voice came out broken. We were desperate. The debts. The pressure. So you decided to destroy me. To steal my life's work. To exploit your own son-in-law? I shook my head. You called me garbage. But at least I know what I am. You've spent so long pretending to be something you're not. You don't even recognize yourselves anymore. I picked up Rosalind's phone. I'll be keeping these recordings. Insurance. You follow my terms. Apology, therapy payment, no contact. And they stay private. You come after me again? After my family? After my reputation? I met Horatio's eyes. I'll make sure every person you've ever met hears what you really are. Gerald quietly gathered his papers, recognizing a losing battle, preparing his exit. The restaurant was empty except for me. Horatio and Beulah had stumbled out 20 minutes ago, Gerald trailing behind them. Rosalind left too, phone back in her purse, new life ahead of her in Los Angeles with money I'd wired to help her start over. I sat alone with the wine I hadn't touched, and the phone containing recordings I wished I'd never heard. If the old man doesn't die soon... They'd wanted me dead. My phone buzzed. Bartholomew. NYT article publishes tomorrow morning. Your reputation will be restored. Well done. Another buzz. Ophelia from Barcelona. Dad, are you okay? Rosalind sent me the recordings. Those people are monsters. I'm catching a flight tonight. I started to type back. Don't come. I'm fine. The chest pain started as a tightness, then pressure, then something that felt like a fist squeezing my heart. I reached for my phone, dropped it, reached again. The restaurant manager found me slumped over the table 2 minutes later, breathing shallow, face gray. The last thing I remember thinking, I won. Why doesn't it feel like winning? Mr. Bennett, can you hear me? I opened my eyes. A nurse stood over me, checking monitors. Where? OHSU Hospital. You had a cardiac event at Le Pigeon restaurant Monday night. The manager called 911. You've been here overnight. A cardiac event. I tested the words. That's a polite way of saying heart attack. A mild one. Stress-induced angina with minor muscle damage. You're going to be fine, but you need rest. She adjusted my IV. You're lucky. Another 10 minutes and we'd be having a different conversation. I closed my eyes. Lucky. I'd backed 3 people into a corner so tight they'd planned to have me declared incompetent, and my body decided to prove them right. Hospital gowns are designed by sadists, opened in the back, exposing everything. I'd produced shows on Broadway with more dignity than this fabric provided. Does my daughter know? I asked. Ophelia? She's on a plane from Barcelona. Should be here this afternoon. The heart monitor beeped every time my heart beat. It's like having a metronome for your mortality. Very philosophical at 3 a.m. She burst through the door at 2 p.m., suitcase abandoned in the hallway, mascara smudged from crying. Dad, she grabbed my hand. Don't ever do that to me again. Wasn't exactly planned, sweetheart. You had a heart attack chasing revenge. You're not... Her voice broke. You're supposed to be invincible. Nobody's invincible at 68. I squeezed her hand. I'm okay. Minor damage. They're keeping me for observation. Minor? Dad, your heart stopped working properly. That's not minor. She wiped her eyes. I read the recordings Rosalind sent. What they were planning, declaring you incompetent, getting conservatorship. Ironic, right? They wanted to prove I couldn't handle my affairs. My heart decided to help make their case. This isn't funny. Little bit funny. I tried to smile. Failed. Wednesday afternoon, Tobias appeared at my door. He looked worse than I'd ever seen him. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, 20 pounds of shame weighing down his shoulders. Dad, his voice cracked. Can I come in? You're already in. He approached the bed slowly, like I might detonate. I heard about your heart attack. I'm so sorry. Sorry I had a heart attack, or sorry you contributed to the stress that caused it. He flinched. Both. All of it. Dad, I didn't know. About the conservatorship plan? About them wanting to declare you incompetent. Rosalind sent me the recordings after you collapsed. When I heard what her parents were planning. You stayed silent when they called me garbage, I interrupted. At the wedding, you stood there and let them destroy me in front of 300 people. I know. Tears ran down his face. I was weak, scared. They were paying for everything, I thought. They weren't paying for anything. I was. And you knew I deserved better than silence. You're right. He collapsed into the chair beside my bed. I've been thinking about nothing else for a week. I was so worried about impressing them, about fitting into Rosalind's world. I forgot who actually loved me, who actually sacrificed for me. He looked up. I left her, left the apartment we shared. I'm staying at a hotel until I find a place. She dumped you first. Yeah, she did. Because without money, I'm worthless to her. He laughed bitterly. Funny how that works. I studied my son, saw the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, saw the man who'd betrayed me, saw someone in between trying to find his way back. My hand reached toward his shoulder, hovered, pulled back. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight, Tobias. I know. You hurt me, deeply, and an apology doesn't erase that. I know that too. But I shifted in the hospital bed. If you want to prove you've changed, if you want to show me you're capable of being the man I raised you to be, there's something you can do. Anything. He leaned forward. Dad, I'll do anything. Help me finish this. The Colemans destroyed our family. Used you. Planned to steal everything I built. There's one more act to this play, and I need help staging it. What kind of help? I'm organizing a public event. Saturday. Pioneer Courthouse Square. I've contacted 50 people the Colemans victimized over the years. Contractors they didn't pay, partners they defrauded, investors they scammed. They're all coming to tell their stories, publicly. Press will be there. It'll be the final nail in the Colemans' reputation. Tobias paled. That's brutal, Dad. They were planning to have me institutionalized. Brutal is relative. I met his eyes. I need you to help coordinate, make calls, verify people are coming, handle logistics. Show me you can stand up and do the hard thing instead of staying silent. He swallowed hard. If I do this, there's no going back with Rosalind. Her parents will never forgive. There's already no going back. She dumped you, remember? The question is, are you with your family, or are you still trying to please people who called your father garbage? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, tell me what you need me to do. Saturday morning. My apartment looked like a production office. Papers everywhere. Phones charging. Tobias on laptop coordinating final details. 53 confirmed attendees, he reported, plus media. The Oregonian, 2 Portland TV stations, and some independent journalists. Good. I swallowed my afternoon heart medication. Doctor's orders. Dad, are you sure about this? Your heart. We'll be fine. You don't know that. I know I need to finish what I started. I pulled on my jacket, the same one I'd worn to the wedding, the one Rosalind mocked as Ross dress for less. Seemed appropriate. My phone buzzed. Loretta, Coleman's just arrived at the square. They look terrified. Another buzz. Ophelia, I'm already there. Front row, ready to watch you work, Dad. I looked at Tobias. Last chance. You can stay here. Nobody will blame you. I'm coming. He stood. You asked me to prove I changed, so I'm proving it. We walked to my car together, my son and I. For the first time in months, maybe years, we weren't on opposite sides. Pioneer Courthouse Square waited. 53 victims, 300 witnesses, press cameras. The Colemans, standing in the center of it all, about to face everything they'd done. I'd staged 1,000 shows. But this was going to be my masterpiece. My chest tightened as I drove. I pressed a hand to it, breathed through the pain. Dad? Tobias's voice was sharp with worry. I'm fine, just nervous. It's been a long time since opening night jitters, but we both knew it wasn't jitters. It was my heart, warning me. I drove anyway. Some shows are worth the risk. Pioneer Courthouse Square was packed. 53 people holding signs. Coleman's Victims United. Justice for the conned. We remember. I stood on the improvised stage, just a platform with a microphone and speakers I'd rented for the day. August sun beat down. Perfect weather for dark drama. Media crews set up cameras. The Oregonian, 2 Portland TV stations, independent journalists with phones. I'd invited them all. Horatio and Beulah arrived at 2 p.m. exactly. They'd expected a private negotiation in some office. Instead, they found this. Horatio's confident stride faltered when he saw the crowd, the signs, the cameras. His face drained of color. "What is this?" His voice carried in the open air. "Orville, you said private negotiation." I tapped the microphone. Feedback squealed. The crowd quieted. "I said we'd talk. I didn't say it would be private." I looked at the cameras. "This is a community forum. These people deserve to be heard. You spent years silencing them, threatening them, leaving them with nothing. Today they get their voices back." "You can't do this," Beulah started. "Actually, I can. I rented this space, obtained all necessary permits. This is completely legal." I smiled without warmth. "Unlike many things you've done." Beulah's hand clutched her purse like a lifeline, knuckles white. She looked for escape routes. The crowd formed a loose circle, not threatening, just present. "I'm Orville Bennett. Some of you know me from Broadway. Some of you know me from a viral wedding video. But most of you," I gestured to the people holding signs, "know me because we share something in common. We were all hurt by Horatio and Beulah Coleman." An elderly man approached the microphone. His hands shook, but his voice was steady. "My name is Walter Briggs. In 2018, I contracted with Coleman Development to renovate my house, paid $15,000 up front. They did 3 days of work, then disappeared. Left my house half demolished. I'm 79 years old. I couldn't afford to fix it. I've been living with my daughter ever since." Applause rippled through the crowd. Walter stepped down. A woman in her 40s took the microphone next. "Patricia Kim. Coleman Development promised to invest in my small business. I signed contracts, took out loans based on their commitment. They backed out last minute, kept my deposit. My business failed. I declared bankruptcy." More applause. Horatio tried to speak. "That's not—" "We had legitimate reasons." "Then explain them." I gestured to the microphone. "Go ahead. Tell Patricia why breaking your promise was legitimate." He closed his mouth, had no answer. Person after person shared their stories. 30 minutes of testimonials. Contractors unpaid. Investors defrauded. Partners betrayed. Small business owners ruined. Horatio attempted to push through the crowd. People's hands gently but firmly guided him back to center. Cameras swiveled, recording everything. Beulah sank onto a bench, head in hands, shoulders shaking. After the last testimony, I took the microphone back. "Horatio, Beulah, at my son's wedding you called me garbage, in front of 300 people. You said I contributed nothing but jeans. You mocked my clothes, my life, my choices." I paused. "You did this because I dressed modestly, because I didn't flash wealth, because I chose simplicity over show." "Orville, please." Beulah's voice was broken. "But here's what you taught me. Being garbage has nothing to do with money. It's not about what you wear or what you drive. It's about who you are when you think nobody's watching. It's about the contractors you don't pay, the investors you defraud, the people you leave ruined while you rent Mercedes and buy fake Rolexes." I looked at the crowd, then back at them. "You had chances to be decent, every day. Every person you hurt was a choice. You chose greed over integrity. You chose lies over honesty. You chose to hurt people rather than live within your means." Horatio's voice came out strangled. "We were desperate. We're all desperate sometimes. That doesn't make it okay to destroy others." I held up a folder. "I've purchased every debt these people hold because of you. Every contractor you didn't pay. Every investor you defrauded. Every partner you betrayed. I bought their debts, and I'm forgiving them. They owe nothing." The crowd erupted. People crying, hugging, thanking me. "But you too? You're going to make this right. Public written apology. 500 hours of community service each. And you're going to pay for my son's therapy, however long he needs it, whatever it costs. Those are my terms. And if we don't," Horatio's last attempt at defiance, "then every person here files a lawsuit. Criminal charges, where applicable. Your fraud lawsuit against me, I'll countersue using Rosalind's recordings as evidence of attempted elder abuse. You'll spend the rest of your lives in legal battles you can't afford." I let that sink in. "Or you can accept accountability, do the work, and maybe, rebuild some scrap of dignity." Horatio stared at me, at the cameras, at the 50 faces watching him. His knees buckled. He collapsed onto the pavement, hands clasped. "I'm sorry." His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. To all of you. I thought if I could just make it back, get the money back, prove I was somebody. Tears streamed down his face. I destroyed people. I hurt people. Because I was too proud to admit I'd failed. Beulah knelt beside him, her own face wet with tears. We're sorry. We're so sorry. She looked up at Walter, at Patricia, at the others. There's no excuse. We were wrong. We were cruel. We hurt you because we were scared, and that's not good enough. The square was silent, except for their crying. Tobias stepped forward from where he'd been standing beside the stage. He approached his almost in-laws. You used me, he said quietly. You were going to use me to destroy my father? But he's giving you a chance anyway. That's the difference between him and you. He turned to me, walked up onto the small platform. Dad, his voice shook. I'm sorry too. For staying silent, for choosing them over you, for being weak when you needed me to be strong. I looked at my son, saw the boy I'd raised, saw the man who'd betrayed me, saw someone trying to find his way back. He hugged me, just threw his arms around me like he used to when he was small. I stood rigid, every muscle tight. The cameras were on us, everyone watching. Then slowly, my arms came up, wrapped around my son. He was crying into my shoulder. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I know. My voice was rough. I know you are. Rosalind stood apart from her parents, holding her phone at perfect influencer angle, even while they collapsed. Some people have priorities. Hers just happened to be engagement metrics. The crowd began to disperse. Media packed up their equipment. The 53 victims hugged each other, hugged me, thanked me through tears. Horatio and Beulah remained on the pavement, accepting their fate. I released Tobias, held him at arm's length. This doesn't fix everything. I know. Trust takes time to rebuild. I know that too. He wiped his eyes. But I'm willing to do the work, however long it takes. I nodded. We'll see. Ophelia appeared beside me, squeezed my hand. Good show, Dad. Thanks, sweetheart. My chest hurt. The heart medication was wearing off. You okay? She saw me wince. Just tired. It's been a long week. A long week? A long month? A long, painful journey from that wedding to this moment. I looked at the Colemans one last time. Horatio met my eyes, nodded once, acknowledgement, acceptance. Rosalind was already walking away, phone to her ear. Some people change, some people don't. The question was, which one was I? 3 months later, October 2025. Morning light streamed through my apartment windows. Coffee steamed in my favorite mug. Portland spread out below, autumn colors painting the trees. I sorted my daily pills, heart medication, blood pressure, vitamins, physical evidence of what revenge cost. My phone buzzed. Tobias. Dinner Thursday, my treat this time. I hovered over accept, still hesitating after 3 months. Pressed it anyway. Thursday dinner at a small Italian place. Tobias arrived early, reserved a quiet corner table. Dad, he stood when I entered. Formal, careful. Tobias, we ordered. Made small talk about work, weather, his therapy sessions. Every topic felt like walking on ice. I found a permanent apartment, he said. 2 blocks from you, actually. 1 bedroom. Small, but nice. That's good. Yeah, it's different. After the place Rosalind and I had. But it's mine. I'm paying for it myself. That's important. Silence. Chewing. Glasses clinking at other tables. Dad, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think you'll ever really forgive me? Or is this just going through the motions? I set down my fork, looked at my son. He deserved honesty. I don't know yet. Some days I look at you and I see the boy I taught to ride a bike. Other days I hear them calling me garbage and I see you standing there silent. I paused. Forgiveness isn't a light switch. It's a process. We're in that process. That's all I can promise right now. His eyes were wet. That's fair. More than fair. But Tobias, the fact that you're trying, that you're doing the work, that matters. It doesn't fix everything, but it matters. We finished dinner, hugged goodbye on the sidewalk, still stiff, still awkward, but better than nothing. Saturday at the farmer's market, I was buying vegetables when I heard her voice. Orville? I turned. Beulah stood 3 feet away, orange community service vest over a Target t-shirt. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup, no designer bag. Beulah, I'm on break from the shelter, serving lunch to homeless families. She shifted her weight. I wanted to say, thank you. I almost laughed. Thank me? You gave us an out. The community service, the debt reduction, you could have destroyed us completely, pressed charges. Instead, you gave us a path back. She looked at her hands. I hate every minute of that community service. It's humiliating. But it's making me remember things about who I used to be, before the money, before the status. Her eyes met mine. You saved us from ourselves. I don't expect you to forgive us, but I wanted you to know we're trying. I nodded slowly. Keep trying. Maybe someday it'll mean something. She walked away. I stood there holding organic kale, watching her disappear into the crowd. Friday evening, my phone rang. Ophelia's face on the screen. Hey, sweetheart. Isn't it like 2 a.m. in Barcelona? I couldn't sleep. Wanted to hear your voice? She smiled. How was dinner with Tobias? Awkward. But we're getting there. Slowly. That's good. He's trying, Dad. Really trying. I know. I see it. I sipped tea. How's work? Busy, but I'm thinking about coming home for Christmas, if you'll have me. Always. This is your home, Ophelia. Wherever I am. Even if Tobias is there. Even then. You two are both my children. I love you both. What happened doesn't change that. She was quiet a moment. Dad, are you happy? After everything? I thought about that. Happy is complicated. I got justice. The Colemans are paying for what they did. Tobias is working to make amends. My reputation is restored. I paused. But I had a heart attack. I drove myself to a hospital bed. I damaged my relationship with my son. I became someone who stages public humiliations. So, happy? I don't know. Satisfied, mostly, at peace, working on it. That's honest. That's all I can be. Monday morning, I sorted through mail, bills, advertisements, and then Broadway Producers Association letterhead. My hands shook opening it. Dear Mr. Bennett, we've been following the remarkable story that emerged from your son's wedding. Your grace under pressure, your integrity in 2010 when you saved your investors, and your creative approach to justice have captured our imagination. We would like to discuss developing a theatrical production based on your story, a musical about revenge, forgiveness, wealth versus character and family. We believe it could resonate with audiences who felt underestimated, overlooked, or betrayed. Would you be interested in consulting on this project? I laughed, then laughed harder, then couldn't stop. Tears streamed down my face. Laughter turned to crying. Crying turned back to laughing. My whole life, one last show. I called Zeke at the Times. Orville Bennett, twice in 1 year. I'm honored. Zeke, you'll never believe this. I was still grinning. Broadway wants to make a musical about my story. The Wedding Revenge Saga. That's perfect. Are you going to do it? I'm thinking about it, but only if I get creative control. I want to tell it honestly, the good, the bad, the parts where I'm not the hero. Show what revenge actually costs. That's a hell of a message. It's the truth. Money doesn't make you better than anyone. Revenge doesn't heal you. Family is complicated. Justice is messy. I looked at my vintage posters, but sometimes you have to stand up and say, I matter. You can't treat me like garbage, even if it costs you something. So you're doing it? One last show, Zeke, about forgiveness, accountability, and how sometimes the best revenge is just living well. Think it'll be a hit? With you behind it? Absolutely. I hung up, stood at my window looking at Portland below. Rosalind sent me a Christmas card from her new Los Angeles address. It said, thank you for the content. I laughed for 10 minutes. At least she was honest. Horatio and Beulah sent separate apology letters from separate addresses. That told me everything about how their marriage was going. My phone showed texts. Tobias. Therapy went well today. See you Sunday? Ophelia. Love you, Dad. I looked at the vintage Broadway poster on my wall. My first show, 40 years ago. Young Orville, full of dreams, thinking he knew everything. I knew less now, but I knew what mattered. My son was damaged, but healing. My daughter was strong and close. My health was compromised, but manageable. My reputation was restored, but complicated. Justice was served, but at a cost. I'd become someone who orchestrated public humiliations, who bought people's debts, who staged theatrical revenge. But I'd also become someone who forgave those debts, who gave second chances, who stood up when called garbage and said, "No, I'm not." The show must go on, but this time on my terms. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.